Would you like to earn even more revenue from your maps with the in-island transactions that recently came out? Well, you're in the right place, because in this video, I will show you exactly how to set up your store, fill it with products, and sell them directly in-game using Verse. I decided to do something extra special for this video and made a drag and drop store template that you can find for completely free inside of my Discord server. You can join by clicking the first link in the description. Now, before we jump in, I need to be completely transparent with you. Today we're going to be writing a good amount of code, and there's really no way around it. But the payoff is absolutely worth it, because once you have it set up, you can sell literally anything in your maps and start making real money from transactions. And here's the thing, if you can copy paste, you can do this. I've structured everything so that you can follow along step by step, even if you've never touched Verse before. So don't click off just yet, because this is way more approachable than you think. But with all that out of the way, let's get straight into it. Alright, so the first thing that you want to do is navigate to the Verse Explorer. If you don't see the window, go up to the top and click Verse, and then click Verse Explorer, just like this. Once you do that, right click on the content folder and do Create New Verse File. The first device that we're going to create is Premium Shop Manager, and click Create. After that, we're going to create another Verse file, and this one is going to be called Game Passes, and this one will be empty, so go ahead and click Create Empty. And we have one more that we're going to create, and this one's going to be called Currency Packs, just like that, and this one is also going to be empty as well. All right, once you've got those created, go ahead and click this button to open Visual Studio Code. Alright, so now that we're inside of VS Code, the first thing we're going to do is click Game Passes right here, and this one is going to be completely empty, so it should be blank, just like this. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to make a new class called Game Passes Info, and this is going to be public, and it is going to be of type module. So this is going to contain all of the information for your products. I'm going to leave it blank for just a moment, but we're going to come back to it and start to fill out all the details for the products that we're going to put inside of our store. Below that, we're going to do Game Pass Entitlements. This is also going to be a public module, just like that. Below that, we're going to do Game Pass Offers, and this is also going to be a public module, just like that. And then finally, we're going to do Using Game Pass Entitlements, like that. And then we're going to do Game Pass Store, which is going to be a public class. And inside of here, we're going to have a button, which is going to be a button device. We also need to import a couple modules like this at the top, and we need one more for the editable, like that. So now that we have this script kind of templated out, I'm going to go ahead and start filling out some of the information for each product. So inside of Game Passes Info, the first product that I'm going to define is Gold Gain 2x Info. And this is going to be public. And inside of here, we need a few things. We need the name, we need the description, the short description, and the icon. So these first three are going to have the localizes and the public specifiers, and they're going to be of type message. I'm just going to leave it like this, and then I'm going to copy this into the other three lines. This one is just going to be a texture, so it'll be public and texture. So the name will actually be displayed in the header. So this one is going to be called 2x Gold Pass, and we can just put a description here like permanently 2x the amount of gold you earn, just like that. So this one will be described in detail when they actually click on it. And then the short description, we can do earn 2x gold, just like that. And then the texture here, I actually have a couple textures. There is the consumable and the durable texture, which I will talk more about in a moment. But for right now, I'm just going to put this durable icon in here, And we also need to import the verse.org/assets to get rid of that error. So this is essentially everything that you would need to define the raw information of a product. The good thing about designing a product catalog is it's very copy paste. So now that we've defined this, I'm actually just going to go ahead and duplicate it and then change some of the values. So this one is going to be called bonus gold on elim, just like that. And then we can just pass in that same information. Maybe we can give it a cool name like bounty hunter. And same thing, we can just go in and fill out the description. So it'll be like, earn extra gold every time you get an elimination. I'm just going to use the same icon as before because both of these are durable products. However, I would highly recommend having a unique icon for every single product just so that it's visually distinct and players know that it is a separate product. A durable product is essentially just anything inside of your island that can be purchased once and never again. Some examples of what this could be is like a game pass. So for example, this 2x gold gain, or a movement thing. So like, let's say it permanently increases their movement speed by like 2 times. That would be an example of a durable product. So actually, using that example, I'll come up with one more, and this one's going to be called movement speed 2x info. And then this is going to be a public module. I'm actually just going to copy all of this over again. We can just call this 2x speed pass like that. I'm going to go ahead and fill out the description really quickly. And so again, this is an example of a durable product. So all of these are just going to have the same icon. But again, I strongly recommend that you use different icons. So inside of this entitlement module, we're actually going to pass in the game passes information, just like that. So essentially what this is saying is that everything inside of this module gets passed into this module right here. And inside of this module, the first thing we need to do is define an entitlement. So this one is going to be called game pass entitlement, and it's going to be public. So this one is actually going to be a class with a few attributes. It will be abstract and castable, which is a new attribute. And after that, we want to put the entitlement root class like this. So we need to do using fortnite.com/marketplace, which is actually a new module. And if you click on it, you can see that this entitlement class here, it has max count, consumable, which is the other type of product, which I'll get into in a minute, but that will be false because we're doing durable stuff. You know, paid random item, paid area, consequential to gameplay. So it has a few things inside of here, and I'll walk you through step by step what all of this means and how we can integrate that into our marketplace. All right, so after we've defined what the entitlement is going to be, I'm going to make a new entitlement called gold gain 2x entitlement like this, and it's going to be public. And this is actually going to be a concrete class like this, and it will pass in the game pass entitlement as the root class. Make sure you put a colon here on the end. And now inside of here, we need to start defining all of those variables that we had seen inside of the entitlement class. So the first thing we want to do is name, and this is going to have the override attribute of type message, and then all we have to do is just pass in the gold gain 2x info dot name. After that, we want to do the description, which is going to have the override of type message, and then this is also just going to pass it in from the module above. So gold gain 2x info dot description. We also need to do the short description as well. And finally, the icon. All right, so now that we've passed in all the information from the info module, we now need to define some of the things that we saw before in the entitlement class. So the first thing that we want to do is paid random item with the override attribute, and this is going to be of type logic. And in this case, it's going to be false. It's important here that you do not put the variable specifier right there. It is not a variable, it is simply an override value. And this is basically just saying, is this a random crate, like a loot box or a mystery crate, or I think like a mystery wheel counts too. Anything that involves chance or gambling, essentially, you want to make sure that this is marked as true. Below that, we want to do paid area, which is also going to be override. So logic equals false. This also is an example of a durable product. So if you have like a VIP zone or a special area that is only accessible through purchasing this entitlement, then you would mark this as true. Otherwise, you can just leave this as false. After that, we have consequential to gameplay. This is also going to have the override attribute of type logic, and this is going to be true. Below that, we're going to do consumable with the override attribute, and this is going to be of type logic, and this is going to be false because since this is a durable product, it was not consumable, meaning that they can't buy it over and over again, and they can never lose it either. It's like a one-time permanent purchase, so it cannot be consumed. And finally, below that, we want to do max count with the override attribute of type int. And this is just going to say 1. Something that you should know about a durable product is you can put a higher number, it won't give you an error, but according to the documentation, durable products have to have a max count of 1, otherwise it's not going to work, and it needs to be defined like this. So now that we've defined this entitlement here, it's very similar to the info module up here. We can actually just copy this entire class and paste it below, and then change out some of the information. So this one is bonus gold on elim entitlement. And I've just got to give a quick shout out to GitHub Copilot because it is extremely useful for this kind of work because it knows and it reads the pattern from up above. So by simply doing this, I just do bonus gold on elim, and then it will autofill the rest of the stuff here. So I just click that, and then I click this. And so all we're doing is we're just changing out the name that it comes from, which you yourself can just, for example, copy this, and then, you would copy it from up here, and then you would paste it in on all of these values here because it's the exact same pattern. The only difference is that it's coming from the gold bonus on elim dot icon instead of the gold gain 2x dot icon. All of these values can stay the same because it's not a paid area, it's not random, it is consequential to gameplay. However, nothing else really changed. If you have like a VIP area, it's important that you set these values custom to whatever your product is specifically. All right, so I'm just going to copy this one more time, and I'm going to redo this. So this one's going to be called movement speed 2x, just like that. And then you can see here Copilot is automatically going to fill out all of this information here. I'm going to do it by hand just so I can show you, but I highly recommend Copilot. I think it's like $30 a month, so it is kind of pricey, but if you code a lot or this is your full-time gig, I would highly recommend it. It can speed up your development by like 20 or 30%, and it's overall really helpful. I will say I'm not sponsored. This is not a ad read or anything, but hey, I mean, Copilot, let me know. So if you don't have Copilot, what I would recommend is just copy this over and then scroll up to the info and then just copy the name of this class here, and then you can just double click on it and paste it, and it will automatically do everything you need to do. Again, I'm just going to leave all of this the same because same thing as before. It's not paid random, it's not paid area, it is consequential, etc., etc. And example of something that wouldn't be consequential is like a VFX or some kind of cosmetic. You do have to be careful with that though, because you can't take any existing cosmetic items from Fortnite. It has to be unique to your game. So for example, let's say I wanted to add like a shining crown that gets applied to the player. You could name that like crown cosmetic, but something that you would get in trouble for is if you use the word kicks at all, because kicks are a part of Fortnite. Same thing goes for back bling, same thing goes for like full body character modifications. So like for example, if you had a Goku skin or like a Homer Simpson's model and you wanted to apply that to the character, you wouldn't be allowed to do that. All right, so now it's time for the fun part. What we're gonna do is first import the Game Pass's info, as well as the Game Pass entitlements. So now we're actually going to define the product information, like stuff about the price and everything like that. So what we're going to do is first make the gold gain 2x, and notice how we put entitlement here and we put the info here, but this time we're just going to name it gold gain 2x because this is the actual name of the offer that is available. This is going to be a public class, and this is going to have the entitlement offer. Below that, we're going to be following a very similar process to what we did before. We first want to define the name, which is going to have the override attribute, and it's going to be of type message. This is going to be gold gain 2x info.name. We also want to do the same thing for the description, as well as the short description and the icon as well. Below that, we want to have the entitlement type, which is going to be pulling from the entitlement module. So we're going to do entitlement type with the override attribute, and this is going to be a concrete subtype. And then in parentheses, we're going to do entitlement, and this is going to be Game Pass entitlements dot gold gain 2x entitlements. And then finally below that, we're going to do price, and so this is going to be override, and this is going to be of type price dimension, and this is going to be make price V-Bucks, and then I'm just going to put something in like 100 V-Bucks or something like that. And so the price dimension is an internal class offered by Epic Games, and the make price V-Bucks is a native function which takes in a float and it converts it to the type of variable that we need for the price dimension. And so yeah, once we have this offer written out, we can again paste it in. I'm then going to change the name to bonus gold on Elim. And then I'm literally just going to pass in the exact same stuff as before. So I'm going to scroll up to the top and copy that. So I actually made a mistake here because the product offer, I want it to just be the name of the offer. But up top, you can see I did bonus gold on Elim. What I was trying to do is underscore info, and this is important because the info is going to have the info in the class name, the entitlement is going to have the entitlement in the class name, and you can see that it is giving me a bunch of errors right here. So to fix that, I'm going to copy the new class name right here, and I'm just going to go through and paste all of these in. Like I said, it's very copy paste, so once you have like a product written out, you can just paste that exact same stuff and then just fill out the information. So going back to the offers module, I have this class here for the bonus gold on Elim. Same thing, I'm just going to duplicate this and make sure it has the info because we just changed it. So paste that in, paste this in. And so then the same thing for the entitlement type, we're just going to do right here. So we'll put, instead of info, we'll just put the entitlement. I'm also just going to leave this at 100. You can price your products however you want to, but because this is just an example, I'm not really going to focus too much on pricing. But just know that you can actually go from anywhere as low as 50 V-Bucks all the way up to 5,000 V-Bucks. And it's important that you know that it has to be inside of 50 V-Buck intervals. So it could be 100, or it could be 150 or 250, but you can't do like 252 or some weird number like that. It's got to be in an increment of 50 V-Bucks. I'm going to copy this right here. I'm going to scroll up to the top and copy the info from the movement speed. I'm going to update the name, and then same thing here. I'm just going to paste all of this in, and then for here, I'm just going to put entitlement like that. So this is everything that we need in terms of filling out the information for the product. Now what I want to show you is how to show and display the products, and that's why I have this class right here, because this is what's going to hook into our premium shop manager, and it's a really good way to keep everything organized. So let's get into it. So inside of this Game Pass store, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new function called Open Game Passes Helper. And this is going to be a public function, and this is going to be the interacting agent of type agent. And this essentially is the function that's going to fire when the button gets opened. And it's really simple. It's just going to be if player ref is of type player, and then inside some square brackets, we're going to put the interacting agent like this. And essentially what this is saying is this is just a cast function. So these square brackets here indicate that we're trying to convert the agent into the player. So then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to spawn a new function. So I'm going to do spawn open game pass store, and we're going to pass in the player ref. And below that, we're going to define that function. So we're going to do open game pass store, and it'll take a player of type player, and it's going to have the suspends function, and it won't have a result, so it'll just return void. Inside of here, what we're going to do is show offers dialog like this, and it's going to be of type player ref, and then we're going to have an array like this. So inside of the array, you can see I pressed enter. So it broke the array like this. So there's a squiggly bracket, and then there's a regular parenthesis after that. So inside of here, it's actually really easy. You can display as many as you want. So I'm going to do game pass offers dot gold gain 2x. And then I'm going to put a comma. I'm going to do the bonus gold just like this. And then because I have one more, I'm going to do game pass offers dot movement speed, and then I'm just going to put 2x. Something that I forgot about is we need to wrap these with the curly brackets like this, and the errors will go away. So it looks something like this. It'll say show offers dialog. It'll pass in a player, and then it'll list all of the offers that we want to display to the players in one page. So basically what this is doing is if you ever want to display the store to a player, you would call this helper function if you're using an agent, or if you have access to the player, you could just directly call this function right here. But all this is saying is, hey, Fortnite, I want to display some stuff to the player, so these are the products that we're going to display. Below that, this next function that we're going to write is called on game pass changed. It does take in a little bit of information, but it's really easy once you get the hang of it, and it's super fun to use. The first thing that we're going to do is result, and this is going to be of type tuple, which is basically just two different types of information that are grouped together. So the first one is the player, and the second one is an array of entitlement change, and then you just pass in entitlement like this. And then we do void at the end. So we do for changed game pass, and then we do result is in parentheses 1, and then we do player ref is result in parentheses 0, like this. Essentially what we're doing here is the result that gets passed into this function is the entire array of entitlements that the player owns. And so what we're going to do here is we're looping through every single entitlement that is in the result, and the player is the first member of the tuple, and the actual Game Pass entitlement that got changed is the second result. So inside of this for loop, we're going to do the entitlement is equal to changed Game Pass dot entitlement, like that. We're going to do product change, which is changed Game Pass dot change, and the total owned quantity is changed Game Pass dot quantity, like this. So now all we have to do is write a couple if statements to figure out which product was purchased or which entitlement was purchased. So the first thing we're going to do is if gold gain 2x entitlement, and then in square brackets we do entitlement like this. We can then do print purchased 2x gold pass, like that. And if it's not the 2x gold gain, we do else if bonus gold on elim, and then again same thing, we just pass in the entitlement like this, and then print purchased bonus gold on elim. And then because we have one more product, we're going to do else if movement speed 2x, and then we'll just do print purchased 2x movement speed. And essentially what this is saying is we're looping through all the entitlements. We're seeing what one got changed. So this is the entitlement that's in question. If this entitlement exists inside of the entitlements that we defined earlier, which is this class right here, it will return true. If it's not that, it will check the next one and it'll check the next one. So as many products as you have, you would need to continue writing else if over and over again, so that no matter what product gets purchased, it gets read and picked up by this function right here. Because this function is basically just listening for when a player purchases an entitlement, and then it will figure out what's going on. So this is where you would put your logic of like, okay, well, they purchased the Game Pass. Maybe you want to fire an event that's like Game Pass purchased, and then one of your other devices picks it up and applies that. Right now, I'm just gonna be doing the print statements as an example to show you how to set it up, but I really encourage you to get creative and come up with like some really cool products, because the cooler and more value that you can put into each product, the more sales you're going to get and the more revenue that you'll see come out of your store. Another thing that I wanted to mention really quickly before we move on is this is the actual entitlement that we are looping through. This is how much the entitlement changed by. So for example, all of these entitlements here, they would technically change by 1 because they bought 1. But if this was a consumable product, this might go up by 5 or 10 or 100, who knows, right? So I'll get into it and I'll show you exactly what to do in a moment, but just know that you can do different kind of checks based on how much it changed. And you could even do, you know, like special things like the quantity. This is the total amount that they own. So if they own like 10 of them or whatever, you could even incorporate some kind of special logic where it listens if they have 10 and then apply some functionality depending on the number that they own in total. All right, moving on. The next thing that we want to do is validate Game Pass purchases like this. This is going to take in a player ref of type player, the Game Pass purchases like this. And this is going to be an array of tuples, which is going to have the Game Pass entitlements dot Game Pass entitlement, which is the class that we defined earlier. And then it will also have an int as well. This is going to have a suspends function, and it will not return anything. So this tuple right here, it's the Game Pass entitlements that we have, and it's the number. So essentially what we're doing here is we're going to validate which purchases they already have. It's kind of similar to the persistent data. If you've seen my video, you can find a link to it up above. But essentially what we're doing here is there's no way to detect what's going on, and so we have to do that manually. And so that's what this function is going to do. We're going to make a for loop, which basically just loops through everything in the tuple. Owned Game Pass purchases. And then all we're going to do is if gold gain 2x entitlement, and then we see if it exists. So owned Game Pass 0, like this. It's basically just saying, do they own this Game Pass? And if they do, what we can do is print player owns 2x gold pass, like this. And similar to the changed event, we're just going to do else if, and then the same thing. Bonus gold on elim, and then we just check to see if they own it. So owned Game Pass 0, and then one last one at the bottom, else if movement speed 2x, and then we just again check to see if they own it. All right, so just like that, we have everything that we need for the Premium Shop Manager. Just a quick recap on everything that we talked about. I'm going to scroll up to the top here. We have the module for the information. So this has the name, the description, all that good stuff. We then have the entitlements, which is technically like a product. It was actually called product originally, but then they changed it to entitlements, which is kind of annoying. But just think of entitlements as like the product info, okay? Like as we talked about, is it random, is it an area, all that good stuff. And then these are the actual offers, and so the offers have stuff that gets passed into it, and then they also add the price and the type, like that. And then we take all that information and we display the offers to them using this function. We listen if it gets changed, like this, and then when they spawn in, we will eventually attach this function to when they spawn to validate if they own any of the game passes. All right, so really quickly, I'm going to type out all of the currency pack products off camera, and then I'm just going to briefly walk you through it because it is exactly the same process that we just did for the game passes with a couple small variations. And so let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. All right, so this is the currency packs. These are consumable products. And so a consumable product is something that a player can buy and consume repeatedly. So in this case, I decided to come up with some currency packs. You can see here that it's the exact same thing. It's the currency pack info. I defined the name, the description, all that good stuff. And then I have the consumable icon right here. They're all the same. After that, there's the entitlements, which pass in the info, same as before. And so this is where it varies a little bit. So this is called the currency pack entitlement instead of the game pass entitlement. So then I take this currency pack entitlement, which is the exact same thing, it's just named differently. I take that, and then inside of the currency entitlement here, I just pass this in instead of the game pass entitlement. Each type of product that you have, I would highly recommend that you organize it. So this is where all the game passes go. This is where all the currency packs go. Like, let's say you wanted to sell rainbow kitties, okay? Then I would have a rainbow kitties verse file, which has this exact same format. In fact, you could probably just copy the entire currency pack thing or whatever, and then just paste it in and then change all the information around like what we did with the modules. So you might notice it's a little bit different here because it is not a paid random item, which yours might be. Like I said, if it's any kind of chance related item, it needs to have paid random item. This consumable does not allow to like a specific area or anything. It's just like a money pack or whatever. However, it is consumable. So any kind of consumable item, this needs to be true. And it does have a maximum count of, I believe that's 10 million. Yeah, 10 million, just like that. So the consumable count has a maximum of 10 million. And this is the total count owned that is like unspent. So for example, if somebody purchases 5 million money packs, right? Your code would spend those packs immediately. So then their owned count, quote unquote, would just go back down to 0. A situation where players might be able to redeem them themselves. Like, let's say you have a mystery box. You buy the mystery box and then that goes into your inventory. And then a separate area of your map is where you actually like open the mystery box. So it would get consumed, but they wouldn't be able to have more than 10 million mystery boxes inside of their inventory. If that makes sense. It's a little hard to explain, but I hope everything I'm saying makes sense. If you have any questions about what I'm talking about, feel free to hop in the Discord. I'm pretty active in there and I'm always happy to, point you in the right direction or answer any questions that you might have. So if that sounds interesting to you, I highly encourage you to join. And with all that out of the way, let's get back to the video. All of the offers are the same as well. Nothing in here has changed at all. It is the exact same format as I said. I know I keep repeating that, but I just really want to emphasize how dynamic this system is, because once you have it, you can do the exact same thing as many times as you want to. I will say there is a maximum number of products available in your island, so you can technically have more than that, but you can only have 100 of them for sale at any given time. So this is the coin pack store, which is exactly the same as the Game Pass store, but it is a little bit different since we're going to be working with consumable products in this case instead of the durable ones. And it mainly differs inside of the validate purchase here, because you can see here that it's first checking to see if I own it, but then inside of the print statement, you can see here that I'm accessing the second type inside of the tuple right here, which is the number of owned entitlements. So this would display exactly the number that they own, and that's just something that I think you should know, is that if you ever want to access the number that they have, you can just access this int right here by doing owned currency pack, and then in parentheses you just put the number 1. So inside of this open currency packs function, you can actually see the show offers dialog, which is the same thing as before, but I also included this here for you just because I think that it's important you are aware of this. So the buy result, which is a variable, quote unquote, it is equal to the buy offer function. And so this offer function, instead of displaying a whole page of products, it displays one product. And so if I click on this, you can see here that it returns a logic. And basically what this tells us is that if we want to detect whether or not a player purchased it, it will return false if they were presented with the product and then they did not purchase it. So let's say somewhere in your code, you present them with a purchase. You could track that in your analytics. You could hook it up. If it returns false, you could have something where it's like coin pack presented but not purchased or whatever. Like you could use that for some insight into like what your conversion rate is and try to change things around to maybe get some more sales and stuff. I will not be including this here just because I don't need to, but I just wanted you to know about it because, like I said, I do think it's important and I think that it is a really valuable aspect of the in-island transactions. I'm also going to comment this out here because I'm already going to be showing the dialogue, but yeah, basically just keep that in mind. All right, so that's everything that we need to do for the products. Now let's go ahead and hook this up to the premium shop manager, which is super easy. I think it's actually the easiest part. Really, the challenge is just taking the time and defining all of the products. It can take a while, especially if you have, 10, 20 products or something like that. But once you have the products established, the implementation is the easiest part. So let's jump over into the other script and let me show you what we need to do. Alright, so now that we're inside of the premium shop manager, the first thing I'm going to do is clean up this code a little bit. I'm just going to clear out the code that was left for us by Epic Games. I'm going to add in a couple variables. The first one is going to be called Game Pass Store. is of type game pass store, like that. And then we're gonna do one more, currency packs, like this. And then we're going to do one more as well. This one's going to be called @editable player spawners, and this is going to be an array of player spawner devices. And it's going to be of type array, like this. There's a typo right here. Below that, we're going to have two maps. We're going to have the currency pack changed event map, and it's going to be a map with a player as the key and a optional cancelable for the value. We're gonna need one more for the Game Pass changed event map, like this. Same format, it's got a player as the key and an optional cancelable for the value. Once we've got that written out, the first thing that we're gonna do inside of the onBegin statement is we're gonna loop through the spawner devices, and we're going to do spawner device.spawned event.subscribe, and this is going to link to the spawned event, just like that. We're then going to do the spawned event spawning agent of type agent, and then inside of there we're just going to do if player ref is equal to player spawning agent, like this. Going back to the onBegin function, we also want to subscribe to the buttons, so we're going to do gamepasses.button.interacted with event .subscribe, and then this is where we want to pass in the helper function. So we're going to do gamepasses.open game pass helper, like this. And the same thing with the currency packs as well. We're going to do button.interacted with event .subscribe, and then we're going to do currency packs .open currency packs helper. So the first thing we want to do when a player spawns in is we want to subscribe for the purchase event. And the way that we do that is we do if not currency pack changed event map, and we pass in the player as the key, like this. This is just accessing the map up above. If they don't exist, we want to do a new subscription. So new currency packs subscription. And then we do get entitlement changed event, which is a native function from Epic Games. And we do player ref currency pack entitlements dot currency pack entitlement. And then after all that, we do dot subscribe. And then inside of this subscription, we do currency packs dot on currency pack changed, which, if you remember, this is the function from before. There's actually a typo here. It's get entitlements changed event, not get entitlement. And we also need to import the marketplace module like this. And there we go. So this on currency pack changed event, this is just the function that we designed earlier. The next step is we want to then update the map up above. So we do if set currency pack changed event map with the player ref as the key, and we do option new currency packs subscription, like that. So we can actually just copy this whole block right here. And all we have to do is take this Game Pass changed map right here. We put that in. We also need to make sure that this is the Game Pass entitlements. So anywhere that it says currency pack, we just do Game Pass, and right here as well, Game Passes dot on Game Pass changed. I'm going to use Copilot just because it's a little bit easier. It will automatically fill it in, and there we go. So I'm also going to rename this to new Game Pass subscription, and then I'm just going to put that right here. So these two blocks are exactly the same. You just want to make sure that it is pointing towards the right entitlements. So the other thing that we want to have happen when a player spawns in is we want to validate their past purchases if there are any. So we're then going to do spawn validate all past purchases. And we're going to pass in the player ref like this, and then we're going to break out of that, and we're going to then write the function. So I'm just going to copy this and then paste it in. It will take a player ref of type player. We'll have a suspends function on it, and then inside of here we want to do currency pack purchases which uses a native function by Epic Games. This is the get purchased entitlements. And then we want to pass in the player ref, and we want to pass in the currency pack entitlements dot currency pack entitlement. Just like that. And then the same thing with the Game Pass purchases. Game Pass purchases is then get purchased entitlements. We want to pass the player ref in, and then just like before, we want to pass the game passes in as well. So once we have those defined, we want to then spawn in the validate purchases function that we wrote before. So we do currency packs dot validate currency pack purchases, and then we want to pass in the player, and we want to pass in the purchases. We also want to do the same thing for the game passes. Validate game pass purchases. And then we want to pass in the player, and we want to pass in the game pass purchases, just like that. So this is how you validate it. Again, if you have multiple product lines, you would want to spawn them in over and over again. Everything that you see here, just take the exact same method and then do it more and more for every single type of product that you have. So that's why I like to group them together, is because all of the game passes belong by itself, all of the coin packs belong by itself, and then it allows you to create as many products as you want very dynamically, which I think is super nice. All right, so now that we have successfully handled when a player spawns in, now what we need to do is we need to listen for when they leave. So inside of this begin function, we're going to do get play space, get player removed event dot subscribe, and then we're going to do on player removed. There's actually a typo here. It is just player removed event. And then we're going to take this and we're going to make a new function called on player removed. We're going to do leaving player ref of type player. And all we need to do is remove them from the maps. So the easiest way to do that is we're now going to do if currency pack subscription is equal to currency pack changed event map, like this, and then we pass in the leaving player ref. So if they have a subscription, which they should, we first want to cancel the subscription. So we're going to do currency pack subscription dot cancel. I forgot the P here. We're then going to define a temporary map. So this is going to be temp currency packs map. And this is going to be the same type, where it is a player as the key with a cancelable as the value. We're then going to loop through the existing map. So we do for key arrow value, and then we do currency pack changed event map, and then we do key not equal to leaving player ref. And essentially what this is saying is this loops through every single key value pair inside of the event map except for the person who's leaving. And then what we need to do is set the temp currency event map equal to concatenate maps, and then we're going to do temp currency packs map with a comma, and then in some squiggly brackets, we're going to do key value, just like that. And then right below that, we're going to do set currency pack changed event map is equal to the temp event map. So I clustered all of this together, and then we're just going to do the exact same thing over here. So we're going to do if game pass subscription equals game pass changed event map. Again, pass in the leaving player, and same thing. So we want to cancel it, game pass subscription dot cancel, and then we're going to create a temporary map, temp game pass map of type player cancelable is a map, and then for key value game pass changed event map. Then we're going to do key not equal to leaving player ref. And then we're just going to set the temp map equal to concatenate maps temp game pass map, and then just like before, key value. And then we just need to set the game pass changed event map equal to the temp game pass map, just like that. All right, so I just want to give a quick recap of where we are. I know it looks like a lot, but it's really simple once you understand what we're looking at. So at the beginning of the game, we first listen for when the player spawns in. We want to subscribe to the buttons, and we also want to listen for when the player leaves. When they do spawn in, if you remember, this is where we subscribe for when they purchase a product, and then we also validate their purchases if they have any. This is just the validation function that we have, and then when they leave, we're just simply cleaning up the maps so that it doesn't become overpopulated and it's not tracking the purchases of a player who doesn't exist. All right, so there's one more thing that I just added in for you. I'm not going to go over it and write it out step by step, but I did just want to mention it because it is important. We're already tracking purchases in the classes over here, but if you want to consume an entitlement, so if it's a consumable item, what you can do is try consume entitlement. It takes in the player, and it also takes in the entitlement right here and the number that you want to remove from them. So the result is a native function provided to us by Epic Games. You can go ahead and just copy this into your code, and what it's essentially saying is that it will try to consume the entitlements, and if it is successful, then it will return true, and if it's false, it will return false. And this also is another super awesome function if you want like an admin panel, or maybe you have like a secret code that gives them like a free currency pack, or maybe a free pet, or if you want to give someone a product for free, you can just call this function right here, try grant entitlement. And the reason why it is try grant entitlement is because if they already have the maximum number, it won't succeed. But 99% of the time, it will succeed. And so it's the same thing. You call this function, it will grant the entitlement to the player. And if it succeeds, then it will just do a print statement, or it will not, and it will print that it failed. All right, so with all that out of the way, let's jump back into the viewport and do some final touches to get the shop up and running. All right, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this premium shop manager out here, and I'm going to scoot it over just a little bit. You'll notice that it's really easy. So we have two buttons here and some player spawners. So I'm going to link the player spawners first, just like this. You just click the little plus button, and then you just click the dropper tool and you link it. This is super important. You have to link all of the player spawners no matter what, because if you don't, they might end up purchasing something and then it won't actually fire. None of your code will work, and that is a super big problem. It is really important that you are precise here, because since it's dealing with actual real money, you can get in some pretty big trouble if a player buys something and then nothing happens. In fact, they can actually report your store, and if your store has a higher number of reports than usual, you will get in trouble from Epic Games and they will potentially take your map down. So just be careful with that. It's a super easy thing to overlook, and so I just really want to emphasize how important it is that you link your player spawners. After that, all we need to do is find a button device. I'm going to drag that in right here, and I'm just going to have this be the game passes like this. I'm going to add a little interaction radius so it's easier for me to click on, and all of these settings are totally fine, so it's not super important because it's just a demonstration, but you can dress it up and make it look all pretty and design like a whole store front and everything like that. I'm just going to simply duplicate this button and name it currency packs like this, and all we need to do now is link the game pass button and link the currency button just like that. And finally, all we have to do is launch a session and see how it works. Alright, so now that we're in game, let's go ahead and test it out. So right here we have the Game Passes storefront, and look at how nice this looks. Like, quick side note, I really gotta say that Epic did a fantastic job with the storefronts. I'm a super big fan of it, but you can see here that we've got our products, and we can go ahead and click on it. We can even try purchasing it. There we go. You can see it says 2x gold pass purchased. We can also go ahead and do the currency packs as well. So let's buy a medium one, just like that. Awesome. And you can also see here where it says 1 out of 10 million owned. So this is where the maximum count comes in. But with the durable one, you can see that it won't let me purchase it again because I already own it. Other than that, I just wanted to say thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. I know this was kind of a hard one. Again, if you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to let me know down in the comment section. If you liked this video or it helped you in any way, a like would be very much appreciated. Other than that, I just want to say thank you so much. Peace.